People were shocked to learn that the Bank of England had predicted a 15-month recession, double-digit inflation, and worst of all, the largest decline in living standards ever. It was not supposed to be. These are dangerous times due to the weaponization of food and gas prices by Russia during the conflict in Ukraine, which has increased prices globally and caused economic hardship. However, the most recent crisis in Britain has brought to light our utter fragility as a result of 40 years of misguided economic strategy that has weakened our strengths and failed to address our long-standing flaws. In my 50 years of watching and commenting on the economy, this particular economic moment is the worst I have ever seen. All of the dysfunctions that have come together to form a perfect storm include low productivity, our crumbling welfare state, the threat of predatory finance, a lack of human capital, a systemic fear of taking risks, and a lack of public investment. Carelessness regarding the ownership of our national assets, a lack of economic resilience in vital industries like water and electricity, exorbitant real estate prices leaving the market, ineffective regulatory bodies, poor corporate investment, the list goes on. Even worse, our political class's analysis of it is woefully insufficient. The solution, according to the growingly dominant right of the Conservative Party, is to stick to the Thatcherite formula that is directly responsible for the crisis: limited government interference, low taxation, and small-scale economics as a means of unshackling enterprise from fictitious overregulation. Additionally, despite initiatives such as the widely supported call for an energy price freeze this winter, the left has not yet provided a comprehensive systemic solution. While the larger liberal left tradition, clearly the path Labour's Keir Starmer wants to lead his party, fails to come up with workable, realistic solutions, activists demand full-blooded, top-down socialism, creating a void. The political reaction is inadequate in the face of an economic and social emergency, exemplified by millions of people who will not be able to afford fuel bills that could reach £5,000 next year, but have much deeper roots. The facts are as follows. Inflation, which is currently expected to peak at more than 18%, will only gradually decline in the next years. The total price level by 2024 is expected to be about 15% higher than the autumn 2021 estimate, which is already quaintly out of date. According to the Bank of England's projections, there will be a recession for 5 consecutive quarters, ending in the final 3 months of 2023. Britain's performance will be the lowest among the G7 on these two metrics. Thus, until at least the middle of the 2020s, if not later, the nation will have to deal with continuous stagflation, or stalled growth and inflation. Due to Brexit, business investment is falling short of its gloomy long-term average as confidence plummets and once robust inward investment from foreign companies has halted. The loss of access to EU markets has severely hurt exports, and growth elsewhere has not made up for this loss. The UK current account deficit, which gauges its balance of payments with the rest of the world, was 8.3% of GDP in the first quarter of 2022, a level often only observed by emerging markets and basket case countries. Since March, the value of sterling has decreased by over 10% compared to the US dollar. After the recent increase to 1.75%, Bank of England officials had hoped that interest rates would peak around 3%, but that looks unlikely as inflation rises and interacts with the weakening of the currency at the same time. The market is currently projecting that rates will peak at 4% over the course of the next 12 months, although even that figure could be underestimated given the need to defend sterling and control inflation. This means that a widespread collapse in home values is becoming more inevitable. Capital economics projects that prices will drop by 7% over the next 2 years, and other analysts have even more pessimistic expectations. The desire of British consumers to spend is directly linked to the health of the housing market. A drop in house prices will unintentionally accelerate the impending recession, even though first-time buyers will greatly need them. A word of caution: the recession may be far worse and last longer than even the bank's most recent prediction if the incoming administration mismanages economic policy by giving priority to inflationary tax cuts, poorly targeted assistance with energy bills, and poorly thought-out, unproven deregulation to unshackle enterprise. The weaknesses in the British economy are being brutally revealed. What steps may be taken to address these vulnerabilities, and where can they be found? The productivity gap, which has long plagued the UK economy, has gotten worse. Since the 2008 to 2009 financial crisis, the rate of growth in productivity has declined, which has limited the potential for real wage growth. In fact, real earnings have stagnated over the past 14 years, despite increasing by almost a third on average for each of the previous 10 years since 1970. This tendency has been even more pronounced as prices have been rising faster than nominal salaries. The real value of regular pay fell by 3% between April and June of this year, compared to the previous year, which was the biggest decline on record. The surge in industrial discontent this summer and autumn is a physical manifestation of the agony. By the end of 2024, 1 in 5 households are expected to have depleted their savings. This is due to the fact that the base level of benefits has decreased to £77 per week, the lowest amount ever given in relation to average wage. The National Institute for Economic and Social Research and the Resolution Foundation think tank have issued warnings that by the next election, well over 1 million families may become impoverished due to a combination of declining living standards and pitifully low income support. Depending on the kind of assistance the incoming administration provides to those experiencing sharp increases in energy costs, the figure may go even higher. Families will soon have to choose between starving and shivering, and voices as diverse as money-saving expert Martin Lewis and Tory Mayor of Tees Valley Ben Houchin are correct to warn that conservative leaders have not even begun to comprehend the social hardship that is going to overwhelm so many. Tax cuts may boost demand in the economy, but their timing in the spring of 2023 will simply contribute to maintain higher inflation expectations, pushing estimates for 2023 from 9.5% to double digits and reducing the likelihood of a sharp decline in 2024. Long-term high inflation, a decline in the value of the pound, an increase in interest rates above what was already predicted, a tightening grip on living standards, a decline in home prices, more concerns about the continuation of the recession, a decline in business confidence, and a postponement of investment would all become more likely in a vicious cycle. Both stagflation and inequality are going to get deeper roots. All the evil occurrences already mentioned will continue to go unchecked. A rising danger is a sterling crisis. The failure of the previous 12 years is expected to be capped in the next 2 years, a lost decade that will turn into a lost decade and a half. The circumstances call for a total reset of policy, a rolling back of nearly all the Thatcherite homage acts at the top of the Conservative Party. Resources must be gathered and allocated to well-considered national missions. Leveling up, achieving net zero, and developing vital systems to address threats to food security, energy security, and pandemics are a few of them. Delivering on a social aim from which it seeks profit should be business's top priority rather than merely profit. This needs to be included in a brand new Companies Act. Simultaneously, our privatized utilities require a recasting of their regulation, governance, and licensing to better serve the public interest. Real competition needs to be revived in order to combat monopolistic practices and safeguard consumers. To enable the development of tens of thousands of tech startups into tomorrow's big corporations, a scale-up system must be implemented. We should start a massive nationwide initiative to upskill our workforce. If a labor administration could implement a system providing social security and essential benefits for everyone in the 1940s, a time of shortages following the Beveridge Report, then reshaping the welfare system in the 2020s is equally important. The world's 6th largest economy cannot stand by while millions of its people live in poverty. The list is endless. All of this will be authored by a state that is not small, but rather nimble, willing to take chances and appropriately compensate its employees, whether they work as teachers, nurses, or central government officials. Rather than being inherently undesirable, an active and flexible government is the cornerstone of a strong economy and society. This vision is completely at variance with the impulses and goals of the Conservative Party as it grapples with a profound crisis that stems from every choice made by its predecessors in office. It is definitely time for a complete overhaul. This finishes our today's video. Do like, comment, and share this video. See you in the next video.